You stole her Quran. Sorry, you stole the Quran. He stole the Quran. That's the thief. That's the thief. 1 second.
Listen to me.
Are you happy you stole her Quran?
For you guys to come, she's reading the Quran, yeah? Do you think you're doing a service to Islam by grabbing that Quran and running with it? Let me tell you, you're a weak person. Let me tell you why you're a weak person.
Our translation is different. Good! Enough, but you're right. You're right. Hatun, stay here. Where? Where's the... Oh shit!
Hey, what's that book? What's that book, bro? Hey, pass that book.
They run like family. Chase the other guy, but he just disappeared. That's not acceptable. They run with a book. I tried to chase them. They run with a book. The idiots. They run with a book.
You can steal. You can kick people. You can put people down. People can be on the floor.
Yeah.
You know what the bottom line is? Lord Jesus Christ is still on the throne. And on the day of judgment, you will all stand in front of him. He's the gentleman who stepped in to push the book, steal the book. Sir, why did you steal my book? Why did your friend steal my book? JC, move away. JC, move away, brother. JC, move away. JC, control. Go and deal with Abu Umar. Umar destroyed the Quran. Where is Muslim community? Which one is discrediting Umar?
Man stealing his book, bro. What's wrong with that, bro? Man stealing his book.
Disgusting. Teachings of your prophet. Is that because he stole underwear of people? Therefore you can steal. Of course. This is what Muslims did to Quran. This is what Muslims did to Quran. This is what Muslims did to the Quran. This is what Muslims did to the Quran.
If you provoke someone, expect that.
Is that the mindset? Is that the mindset? Sir, control yourself. Brother.
Don't get involved.
I want you to get hurt. Just
No way.
Move away. Sir, I know you want to express your fucking skills. Go and do that to your wife. Go and get my Quran. JC, move away. JC, move away. JC, move away, please.
Be cool.
I am cool. You move away.
No, stay here.
You move away. Don't push him. Julian, just get this side. Julian, give this to me. Sir, don't push my brother.
Why is no one taking your bike?
Exactly. So you're doing what your prophet tells you to do. You are like your prophet when you steal her Quran.
That's not theft. It is.
And that means That means that Islam is the reason you stole. Islam taught you to steal. Islam taught you to steal. Islam taught them to steal.
Can you put holes in it?
What do you mean put holes in it? There was no holes on that one.
It's still her book. It's still her property.
Would you like to send it to your Bible?
Of course I wouldn't. That's why I've never done it to a Quran. That's why I've never done it to a Quran. But that's not a justification for theft.
You can't do that to
That's not justification for theft.
He slapped someone with it. How about that?
It was an English translation. Is that the
Is it
Quran?
the Quran or not?
So, exactly.
People like you can't hold the Quran.
He
What if it was?
thinks.
What if it was?
Are you happy that they stole her Quran?
Yeah, I am.
There you go.
I am. It's our book.
There you go.
Our book.
So they believe that they can do whatever claims that they want. And why?
Privacy!
Why?
Why, Bob?
Because Muhammad stole.
What did he steal, Bob?
He would launch thieving raiding parties against the pagans of Mecca to steal from them. And so Muslims feel in the park that they can steal. So Muhammad stole.
If you're a good Muslim, get her book. It's not her book. It's God's book.
There you go. There you go. So the crime is acceptable.
Get her book back.
The crime is acceptable.
Get her book
The
back.
crime is acceptable. Are you happy they stole her book?
You're not good Muslims then. That's why I took it away from her. She disrespected it. Questioning it.
It's still her book. It is her book. It is her book. It is her book. Even Islamically, you're wrong. Because right now, you're in a land of treaty, which means you follow our laws, not Sharia law. So you're even Islamically wrong. So there you go. The Muslims are justifying and celebrating theft in the park because Muhammad was a thief.
That makes sense.
What?
Take this. You need it.
What?
My brother, you need this.
Thank you. You can have it. You can have it.
Desecrating the Kaaba. What do you mean like key?
So, this brother said that it was wrong to desecrate the Quran.
Yeah, it was.
Right. But Muhammad desecrated the Kaaba. That was a pagan shrine, and Muhammad desecrated it. So Muslims can't complain if someone desecrates what's sacred to them when Muhammad desecrated what was sacred to others.
No.
He was
Muhammad
cleaning.
was
He said he
sent by
was
God to
cleaning.
do it. It's not by his own
And
action.
for 1400 years,
No, his own action.
Muslims have desecrated Christian churches.
Yes. Yeah, he knows. He knows.
So he can't complain.
He knows.
He can't complain.
No, he knows.
She did nothing wrong.
That's why he knows.
Nothing wrong in drilling holes into the Quran. Nothing. And why?
Why?
Because all of the prophets destroyed the totems of the pagans. And Muslims are pagans.
Yeah, politics.
They worship a rock. They kiss a rock. They bow down to a rock. They go around a rock. And Muhammad himself and his followers desecrated the religious sites of other people. So they have nothing to complain about if someone drills holes into a Quran, so long as she owns it, and she does.
What would you say? It was divinely sent. It was by God. It was God's action, not a human action. It was God sent.
The Quran is not God sent.
Well, that's what you believe, but others don't believe that. So exactly, others believe it's God sent. So they're doing the action of God, not the action of human.
The bomb of
It's God's
it is
power.
still wrong.
It's
wrong.
power that they took over.
It's wrong. You celebrated theft. That is what you did.
We are celebrating theft.
I hope that every employer that saw their employee on this video celebrating theft remembers that their employees celebrated thieving and stealing other people's property. Tell us again how proud you are that someone stole her Quran.
I'm very proud that someone.
There you go.
It's a holy book.
Very proud of theft. Very proud of theft. Christianity is better than Islam. It is better than Islam. I've got water, thank you. Islam teaches that you can steal from the unbeliever. Christianity teaches that you can steal from no one. No one. Christianity is better than Islam. The law of Moses in the Old Testament is better than the Quran, is better than Sharia law.
Perfect. You were not explaining. You finish talk and you make a hole in the Quran and you push people to steal it and then you talk.
Are you happy they stole her Quran?
I am happy because
There you go. Happy they stole her Quran. Are you happy they stole her Quran?
No,
A Muslim stole Hatun's Quran.
stealing is forbidden.
So did they steal her Quran?
Listen.
So, okay, he doesn't know. He's wise enough not to say on camera. Are you happy they stole her Quran? Are you happy that they stole her Quran? Are you happy they stole her?
They took it. They took it.
You're happy?
They saved it. They didn't.
You stole her Quran. Sorry, you stole the Quran. He stole the Quran. That's the thief. That's the thief. 1 second.
Listen to me.
Are you happy you stole her Quran? Are you happy they stole her Quran? Keep your hands to yourself. Are you happy they stole her Quran? Are you happy? There you go. He stole the Quran. He's lying. Why would he steal? Why would he save his holy book and then say he's not a Muslim? I'll answer that question. I will answer that question. I will answer that question. I will answer that question.
You wanted to make a hole in the Bible. That's why. They took it, but they didn't make a hole in the Bible.
Right, we'll do question for question. This is the thief, police. This is the one that stole Hatun's book.
Are you happy this is the
Now,
holy book?
watch that the police won't do anything.
Why?
Why? Because it's easier not to deal with this thief.
Are you happy destroying the Holy Quran?
It's an easy job.
Are you happy destroying the Holy Quran?
No, I would never do it.
Thank you. Bye.
Now, are you happy they stole it? 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 I'll take that as a yes. Are you upset that they stole her Quran? Or do you want to celebrate Muslims being like Muhammad? Ali, are you happy they stole her Quran?
Are burning.
Ali,
Let me do it. Look,
Ali, are you happy they stole her Quran?
You asked me a question.
Yeah, answer the question. Answer the question. I'm going to interrupt Ali the moment he doesn't answer the question.
Okay. Let me make it very clear, yeah? I'll tell this to the Muslim youth, yeah? For you guys to come, she's reading the Quran, yeah? Do you think you're doing a service to Islam by grabbing that Quran and running with it? Let me tell you, you're a weak person. Let me tell you why you're a weak person. Because in the past, we have a lot of brothers who come here and do dawah. There's so many shahadas that happen that he gets more burnt than the sun that's burning him now. Yeah? He gets a good sunbeam.
I am right. He's probably right.
He does this.
I am right. He's probably right.
So,
The first point you've ever been right on, Ali. First
At
point.
least I admire his honesty. He doesn't like seeing shahadas. Now, why do you guys come here and Hatun, who's got issues, let her drill the Quran? Look, you're drilling a book. Okay, no problem, yeah? Why do you think, I'll tell the Muslim youth, you got anger issues, don't come to the park because you're a weak person. Look, if she's doing that, ignore her. How many times Hatun came to my table? I turned my back, leave me alone, I don't want to talk to you, yeah? Because you're toxic. I don't want to talk to you, bro. So what is the point of grabbing her Quran, it's her personal Quran, whatever she wants to do, let her do it. Because the moment you take it off and run, what does Bob do? Hey, Muslim, terrorism!
And without any prompting from me, how many Muslims said they were happy about it?
4 or 5.
4 or 5.
Okay.
Were they wrong?
They're wrong. And let me
There
tell
we
you
go.
why they're wrong.
Well done, Ali. Well done, Ali. Well done, Ali.
They're acting on what? Impulsive emotions, yeah? You think you did a service by getting the Quran and running. Wow. Amazing. What a service to Islam. Did you see how that brother grabbed the Quran and run with it? What a disappointment. How weak can you be? I'll make it very clear. You got anger issues, brother? Go to the gym, go somewhere else, go for a little jog, yeah? Okay, when I have anger issues, I say, let me go for a little jog, and I feel better afterwards. You get what I'm trying to say? So, anybody that does that to her, even Hatun, I despise her so much, but I will never go and grab a Quran from her, because it's weak.
Are you going to get a Quran back then?
Look, I'm not going to...
good Muslim will get her back.
Are you going to get a Quran back then?
Whoever's got it, look, it's already drilled, yeah? Whoever's done it, it shows how weak she is. If she had any faith in her religion, she would come here and talk about the gospel, the Trinity, Jesus, love, whatever. She will come and do that. So to me, that's a weak individual. I don't need to go and entertain that. So I'm saying this very clearly. You Muslims are weak individuals who will come here and grab that. Ignore her. You don't like her, bro. Why do you stand next to someone you don't like? If I don't like him, and I don't, I'll be honest, to his face, he doesn't like me as well, I avoid him.
Actually, here's the difference between my religion and his religion. I don't like what he stands for, but I'm perfectly able to love him. Perfectly able to love him. I don't dislike Ali Dawah. I am willing to be friends with Ali Dawah. I got no hatred in my heart for him, but I hate his religion. I hate his ideology. I hate his values and his beliefs, but I don't hate him as a human being. And that's the difference between Islam and Christianity, is we make a distinction between the sin and the sinner, between the action and the one who does the action. And we always strive to bring the one who does the action to a higher, better self. Perfect. That's the idea of redemption. We don't teach hatred to people. But Ali Dawah has demonstrated that he does teach hatred to people. And he creates the cultural context in which Muslims do feel justified to steal Hatun Tasha's Quran. Now, I am not going to argue with Ali Dawah's condemnation of the behavior. How can I? He's building on the haqq, he's building on truth, he's building on righteousness. And as a Christian, I'll argue with you. But that would mean that Ali Dawah has condemned his prophet, because his prophet stole from other people. Ali Dawah condemns the desecration of the Quran. I would never desecrate a Quran myself. It's not what I think is helpful, just because I wouldn't want someone to desecrate my Bible, and we're taught to do unto others as we would have done unto them. So, if I don't want my Bible desecrating, I don't desecrate the Quran. However, I don't think that Hatun did something morally wrong, because all of the prophets, all of them, desecrated the pagan temples and the pagan shrines. And Muslims themselves will defend Muhammad's desecration of the Kaaba on the grounds that it was pagan. Well, we Christians see the Quran as a totem of a pagan religion. No, I wouldn't do it myself, but that is of sentiment and aesthetic, because I love history and I consider the Quran a contribution to human history, and it should be respected like any text of the medieval period should be respected. But she did nothing morally wrong, and she did nothing legally wrong. It is her Quran. She can do with it whatever she wants. If she wanted to use it as toilet paper, it is her right, if she owns it. If she took Ali Dawah's Quran and desecrated that, then she would be doing something criminally wrong. But if she owns the Quran, she can do what she wants to the Quran. That is how the law is. So she isn't morally wrong, she isn't legally wrong. I simply disagree about the utility of her behavior. That is all. And I applaud Ali Dawah for condemning the thief. But in so doing, he condemns his prophet. I'm sure you'll want to reply.
Yeah, which is absolutely not true, because we know at the Prophet, peace be upon him, time, and actually in Islam, when you live along with the Christians and the Jews in their own lands, if a Muslim, listen carefully, yeah, this is how we know this is absolute lies. Okay, this is absolute. Let me tell you why. Because the Prophet, peace be upon him, at his time, and even now, we know that if I go to, imagine we're living in an Islamic land, yeah, and this area, this is where the Christians and the Jews live, yeah. If I go to a Christian's table and they're drinking alcohol and pork, if I get that alcohol bottle and smash it, and I get the pork and I throw it, I have to pay for that. I have to pay for that. I'll repeat again. In an Islamic land, under the Khilafah, not ISIS, under the Islamic Khilafah, legitimate Khilafah, if you go and get a Christian's alcohol and smash it and get the pork and throw it on the floor, you are going to be penalized. That's Islam. And in the Quran, Surah Mumtahina, verse 8, makes that very clear. Allah does not forbid you, and it's not abrogated. Allah does not forbid you from being just and kind. To who? To those who do not kick you out of your houses based on your faith, because of your faith. Allah only forbids you those who are being hostile towards you. So the question is very simple. When he talks about, for example, respecting me, etc., we do not hate this sin, we hate the sinner. We have the same concept in Islam, but there's something that we need to bear in mind. If you hate my religion and you hate the religion, how could you? This is what Tommy Robinson used to say. I have no problem with Muslims, I have a problem with Islam. But this is where the matter lies. And him, one thing I respect with him, there's a lot of things I don't, but one thing is he doesn't sugarcoat it. Jesus is love. I know if I slap this cheek, it's going to come from my cheek. Yeah, and that's no, I know that. You know why? Because at least he's realistic and practical, and it's more of the Christian side. Yeah. Now, as a crusader, I'm not saying you're a crusader, but as you have that kind of
that would be a compliment if you called me a crusader.
Yeah. Like even if because you have that, I know, and Allah tells us the psychology of hostile Christians and the hostile Jews and the hostile pagans, and Allah even tells us about the hostile munafiqun. So we know deep down that when the time comes, if you start seeing Islam growing, which is in the park, we have shahadas like it's happy days, and it's not us, it's from God. Now, I know very well that if the time came to call to arms, I'll be seeing you right in front of me. I know. You know why? Because it's not about, I hate the sinner, I hate the sin but not the sinner. That is nonsense. Because I know when the time calls, I'll be seeing Bob with a sword. Yeah, if he's in the battlefield, you'll be coming from me. You're not going to be like, I hate this sinner, let me chop the sin off him. You're going to be coming for Ali Dawah. Because you know why? You're going to see our Islam's growth, the Shahada is taking place as a threat to you and your values. Tell me if I'm wrong.
So, in answer to the question, the possibility of a civil war in a Western country is an increasing probability. And it's an increasing probability because if you have ever studied any civil war, what are the ingredients of a civil war? Different ethnicities, different beliefs, different values, different political aspirations, and then some kind of catalyst to set it off, which is usually some economic crisis. Examples: Lebanon, Sudan, Yugoslavia. All of these are examples that prove my point. And it's a shame that Ali Dawah doesn't compliment me with some intelligence. If a civil war started in this country and Muslims were in one party and Christians within another, I'm not stupid enough to charge into battle with a sword. I would be carrying a rifle. So compliment with some kind of intelligence, please. Now, let's be clear.
Because he can kill me from a further away.
Absolutely. Exactly. 88 millimeter. So, be an artillery piece. Anyways, guys. But right now, right now, what we've got is a historical redressing of history. The Christians of Spain, the empire, the Western Empire had fallen by the 7th century. The Christians of Spain and Portugal had never raised a sword to the Muslims, and the Muslims invaded Spain anyway. The Christians of France had never raised a sword against the Muslims. And the Muslims invaded France anyway. The Christians of the Italian peninsula had never raised a sword against Muslims. The Western Empire had fallen, and the Muslims invaded anyway. So this revisionist idea that jihad is only defensive is an apologetic narrative created by Muslims.
I don't agree with that, by the way.
Classical Muslims, as I think he's about to admit, classical Muslims saw jihad as offensive, i.e. they will invade the lands of others. And when they invaded the lands of Christians, and I compliment him for his honesty, he said yes, i.e. I'm not lying like these buffoons here call me a liar. He's just contradicted you. So, they invaded Christian lands, including Christian Byzantium. And when they did, they desecrated churches. They turned churches into mosques, like they did at Hagia Sophia, and like they did at so many other churches, and have done for 1400 years. They never paid Christians any compensation. They took Christians as slaves by their millions across Eastern Europe during the ISIS of its time, the Ottoman Empire. You need to learn your history to see the lies of the apologists like Ali Dawah, who try to sugarcoat Islamic jihad and supremacism and dimitude. So, when you see it for what it is, the question for us Christians then becomes, do we have a right to stand up against an oppressive, aggressive ideology called Islam? And the answer is yes, we do. And so I do. But do I think that every Muslim is a jihadi? No. Do I think that every Muslim wants to see Islam dominate? No, I don't. And so those Muslims who don't buy into the ideology of Islam, but have basically compromised on their faith, and that they want to live in peace, I say be friends with those Muslims. But these kinds of Muslims, the Ali Dawah kinds of Muslims, you have to stand up against them. You have to stand up against what they believe in, and however they bring the fight to you, you have to be willing to take the fight to them in like manner. I'll be very quick because I know I've talked for a long time. Turning the other cheek has nothing to do with pacifism. If you want to do a Bible study on it, we can do one right now. Furthermore, the idea as Christians that we should simply allow injustice to be carried out without a word or action against it isn't Christian. We're called as Christians to stand up against injustice, and Islam practices injustice in dimitude and slavery in its attitudes towards women and in countless other ways.
Thank you very much. By the way, before I carry on, I was going to offer you water, but you already have it.
Thank you.
And by the way, me offering you water, I'll make it very clear. I see you as an hostile person, and let me make it clear. Me offering you water doesn't mean that my views on you, or if you was in the battlefield, I would be throwing roses at you. That wouldn't be the case. Let me make that clear. Offering water is that Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, what he did when he was fighting the Crusaders, yeah? And he offered his help to his enemy. But when it came to the battlefield, it was a different story. So I just want to make that clear, yeah? You're a hostile enemy, and I see you as an enemy of Allah, and I will always see you as that. But I want to make one thing very clear, yeah? As he said, I never ever said Islam, jihad is only defensive, yeah? And the jihad that we're talking about here are not individuals. There's ISIS sympathizers who bloody give me death threats, going and killing innocent people. What you've demonstrated is very categorically clear.
I was talking about the Ottomans.
No. Okay, so I'm talking about in general, not these individuals. What you've made very clear is that you, when the things get heated, you will be my enemy and you would be coming from me. So this notion of we hate the sinner but not the sin but not the sinner. Once again, when the Muslims invade lands, there's something very clear. In Qur'an chapter 256, Allah says there is no compulsion in religion. Invading a land and forcing them to accept Islam and desecrating their churches and their places of worship,
which Muslims did for 1400 years.
Separate things. Because if they did it for 1400 years, you would not have Coptic Christians in Egypt. Let's make that very clear. There would be no churches in Muslim lands. So we know very clearly. You don't believe me?
He's lying about Coptic Christians.
Let me finish.
Yeah, go on.
Because this is my last one because I need to go. Yeah? 2 minutes. What 2 minutes, bro? We spoke for 7-8 minutes. 1 second. So I want to make something clear. When we talk about offensive jihad, every nation, every empire has gone and tried to take over lands. The difference between them and us Muslims is the following. We do not go there to force people to accept Islam, number one. Number two, we are not allowed to go there and desecrate their churches.
Which they did.
Because the Prophet, peace be upon him, had a treaty in Medina, and it made it very clear the following. And this is a treaty you can find online if you search it, yeah?
Is it the Pact of Umar?
No, it's not that one. There's another one, yeah? There's one that's fake that's going around. I'm not talking about that one, yeah? The Prophet, peace be upon him, said that the Christians, their wealth, their lives, their churches, and many other things are under the protection of Allah and His Messenger. So now it's very clear for us that if we go and force somebody to accept Islam, you've gone against a very clear ayah in the Qur'an which says there is no compulsion in religion. It is not abrogated as well. So what that means is invading lands and equating that with killing people and getting them to accept Islam is false, because Islam forbids that. However, when the Crusaders, and you see this many times, killing, forget Muslims, other Christian denominations, killing them, so much so that they would ask for help from the Muslims. So let's make something very clear. Offensive jihad is that. Defensive jihad, when God Almighty, God Almighty tells us, when going to war, because Allah knows, if you do not go to war, they're going to come for you. So it's either they come and kill you, or you fight who? The fighting men. Because the jizya is implemented on who? The fighting men, not the women and the children and the elderly. So hold on a second. If Islam is going there to force people to accept Islam, why is it that you are allowed to pay jizya? Because the people of the book are closer to us. So much so, and I'll end on this note because I need to go.
Say for your response.
No, but it's my response.
It's all right. Let him speak. He's speaking.
Yeah. When the Christians, the Romans were fighting the Persians, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Qur'an, and in the battle of Badr, the companions and the Prophet were rejoicing for two things. They won the battle of Badr, and also the people of the book, the Christians, won over the Persians, which were pagans. The Muslims were happy because the Christians won over the pagan Arabs. Why? Because they're closer to us. We can eat from your food, and we can marry your woman. So if this was the case, why would we have these regulations where we're happy that you're winning a war, we can marry and eat your food, and you're referred to as the people of the book? So I will end on that note and make it very clear, and Bob will have his last statement, and we had a nice civil discussion, honest on both sides, and I'll make that very clear. I'm not here to sugarcoat my religion as much as him. And I'll end on the note, what did he say again? I do not hate the sinner, but I hate the sin. But when it comes to the battlefield, he said, I won't have a sword, I'll have a rifle. You'll see me with a rifle. Yeah, watch out for my bullets.
So, Ali,
we love you, Borat.
everyone that I have a civil conversation with, I always give him a gift.
I need to go.
I'm just giving you a gift. What's a gift for
What's
you?
it about?
It's talking about Calvary, where Christ was crucified, and the significance of it. And it's a spiritual book about how we spiritually take ourselves to Calvary. So it's a book about Christian spirituality. Just to prove that as much as I disagree with what you stand for, I got no problem with you. So you look after yourself. Okay, take care. So let me just reply to what Ali Dawah said. So Ali Dawah said that we allow, because they're cowards, it's all right. It's all right. If they're cowards. JC, stop JC.
I record Ali, you don't record.
You come to record Ali? You hypocrite.
No,
Do you come to record Ali?
The last message
You
I
come to
recorded here.
record Ali?
I
record him.
If you want to run away, run away.
I'm not run away. I'm not.
No, but he run away. You all run away.
You come to record Ali?
So no.
Do you come to
So
record
no
Ali?
rap up from Ali.
Do you come to
You don't rap up.
He rap up.
So you don't kill me.
He gives 4 minutes to wait.
I want to give a chance.
The coward he told.
So what did we see? What did we see?
Give a chance to be fair.
Thank you. So what did we see? We saw the Dawah channels run away from the conclusion of the debate.
I don't record the
And why do they run? Why do they run? Why? They run from the conclusion of the debate because the Dawah channels edit their videos. The Dawah channels edit their videos. That's what they do. They do. No. So let us notice how they behave. Notice how the Dawah team behaves. There you go. And what you see here in the park, if Muslims dominate our society, is what will happen to us all. Is what will happen to us all. And what just happened off camera that you didn't see is this Muslim here encouraged this Muslim here to punch me in the face. He just did that off camera. He did that off camera. He did that because he's copying his prophet. He did that because he's copying his prophet, who had critics of him murdered. Now, in response to Ali's comments, Ali said, we allow them to pay the jizya. No, they don't. They impose the jizya. They force the jizya. The Quran says to fight against the unbeliever and the people of the book until they pray the salah as we pray the salah, and give the zakat as we give the zakat, and say the shahada as we say the shahada, or until they feel themselves, they pay subjugated and pay the jizya with willing submission, subdued or humiliated. That's what the Quran says. So he lied to you. Furthermore, Ali said,
What did he say?
He said that there's no compulsion in religion.
He said that it was not abrogated. He said that.
And he said it wasn't abrogated.
He said that, yeah.
So why do they have an apostasy law that says if you leave Islam, we'll kill you? Isn't that compulsion? If I locked you in a room, isn't that forcing you to stay there? So he lied to you again. And then Ali Dawah admitted that aggressive Islam is true Islam. Sorry, aggressive jihad is truly a part of Islamic teaching. That's what he said. So all those times in the past when he argued with DCCI and he said, oh, it's just in defense, he was lying. And he's exposed himself on camera. And hopefully DCCI will let us do a flashback. Furthermore, since we've seen that aggressive jihad is truly part of Islam, then we can understand why Muslims invaded Georgia, Armenia, Byzantine, Egypt, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Sicily, France, Romania, Hungary, Bulgaria, Austria, Greece, and countless other countries. They did it because their religion says they can. And he said, oh, if we were so bad, why are there Coptic Christians in Egypt? Why are there anti-Christian pogroms in Egypt? Why are Christian churches bombed and attacked by Muslim mobs in Egypt? Why did they invade? Why did they invade Egypt in the first place? They did so because of their supremacist teaching.
May I ask you a question off topic?
No. Furthermore, their domination resulted in Arabization. The Nubians of Egypt had their own language. It was called Coptic. It was an African language. They had an African culture. And Christianity embodied that. And then Islam came and Arabized them. Because Islam is about Arabization. Furthermore, Christians in Egypt are an oppressed minority. If you don't believe me, go and visit a Coptic church and speak to them directly whether they are being persecuted or not.
Check it. Fact check for yourself.
Don't believe the lies of the Islamists. My final point in this wrap-up is he said that because in a civil war, in which, a hypothetical situation, in which if Muslims were on one side and Christians on another, I would be found with a rifle in my hand, that betrays the idea of loving the sinner and hating the sin. Shows a mind that has never thought about what it means to love the sinner and to hate the sin. Because the reality is, sin expresses itself through power structures and economic structures and social structures. And one of the ways that those structures are created is through the force of arms. And so the only way that you can resist The ISIS of our day is you have to beat them militarily.
Batter them.
And make no mistake, the Ottoman Empire and the Fatimid Empire and the Umayyad Empire and the Abbasid Empire were all the ISIS of their day.
Yeah, dominated by the Americans.
And we can resist them. But when they are powerless, and only when they are powerless, then we are in a position to love the sinner, because they are not in a position to harm other people. And the Caucasians are idiots, according to this man. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how free speech works. You beat stupid speech with better speech. Speaks for itself. Okay, that's it. Shall we go back to our talk?
We brought you Christianity. St. Augustine was born in Algeria.
Favorite child of your parents.
That's a question not even worth answering.
No, it got a private conversation.
It's not even a question worth answering.
No,
It's a silly question.
Most civilizations, they come from Egypt.
No, it's a question. It's just a silly question.
Civilizations. You were Vikings.
Well, I want to do a talk, but I am up for a chat.
That's the source of all.
People, they said now,
How about after I finish this talk that I was doing, me and you grab a coffee? Do you want it on film?
I went to Ali Dawa and I asked him the question about
Why
hell.
do you
To
take
my
the
mind,
names of the Africans and you give them the
hell
Bible?
is a disproportionate, it's an infinite punishment for finding
How about
did you
next week we
accept
talk
him?
about it?
Okay.
I'll come here next week.
I can't guarantee being in it if I can. I will. But in
Yeah,
principle,
we'll talk about it next
I'd
week.
like to compare your view to theirs.
We'll talk about it next week, definitely. JC, let's finish this talk. Let's go over to buy the railings. How are we doing for battery and time?